have a system for everything. Anything you find yourself doing 3 times or more, you should create a system for it. Saving yourself time, energy, and money. Systems should run your business, and your people should run your systems. And it should be very clear and very easy.
So number 3 is systems.
Wow.
Number 3 is systems. So
Who would have known?
we've got mastery, marketing, and then systems. So Tom, give us a high level of what systems are within Action Coach.
Let's see. Systems is just an acronym. Do you remember the acronym?
Oh, geez.
Saving yourself time, energy, and money, right? So systems, you should have a system for everything. Anything you find yourself doing 3 times or more, you should create a system for it. Systems should run your business, and your people should run your systems. So you should have systems around your time. You should have systems around your marketing. You should have systems around your processing payments, systems around how you deliver to the customer.
Yeah.
Everything should have a system. And just like building a paintball gun, you always want to improve your systems all the time. Now, your systems are going to crack as you grow, right? So think about some of the systems you guys were using 7, 8 years ago. They're not working today for you because you're at a bigger size business. You have more people. It just wouldn't, like how you keep track of time cards today, how you did it 7 years ago. It's changed, right? So a lot of different things. And then things get better. So systems give us leverage. And the definition of leverage, there's a lot of them, but you can do more with ever less. So, boy, if you had to send out an email to 1,000 people back in the day, that would take you a lot of time. Now we have CRMs, and we can write one email and click a group, and it all goes, right? So having the right systems is super important. That SMS campaign you talked about in marketing, like, wow, imagine what that was like if you just text everybody from your phone one at a time. You would wear out your thumbs, and so having a system for everything. I'm kind of a systems freak, and my people have to use systems, and they're always changing. And what's great about a system is that one of the reasons you have a system is so when you hire someone, your first person to your last person, you want to make a system on how to do things. So you have the system. So when they come to work for you, you've already got that stuff out of your head. So you have systems now. You guys have systems now too. They're just stuck in your head. You got to get them out of your head, onto paper, into a checklist, into a spreadsheet, into a video. Some people might call it a standard operating procedure, an SOP, or a lot of different terms for it, right? I just call it systems or a playbook, but the SOP. And so you got to get it out of your head and onto that checklist so that you can hand that checklist to your new hire, your new team member, and they can run with it. Yeah. And it should be very clear and very easy. So like you should be able to hand it to a Girl Scout that's selling cookies, a 12-year-old or less, and they should be able to run with it, and they should be able to do it, and then when you take it to the next level, you have your team members start documenting your systems for it, right? So
this was definitely a turning point in our business when we were working with you on our systems, and we started hiring people, and we had to teach them how to use the engraving machine. And when you hire somebody, it's the perfect time to create systems because you have to teach them anyway. So you might as well document that system because it'll reduce the amount of repetition and the questions of the same thing over and over again. Right. It's like, hey, check the system. Yeah. We documented this. And the thing that I like using in our business and a tip to makers and any business out there is use Google Sheets or Google Docs to create your systems, because those documents can be shared and anyone can access them, update them, and change them, and you can keep going after the mastery with your systems if you have it on a shared document. Yeah. That's what we love using. And I think that really having those systems for us really led into like role clarity. It was like the next system that we created, and we documented each position that we started to bring into the business, and we decided what that clarity of the role was, what the expectations were, what the KPIs were, and having these systems. Well, if that person left, boom, we could plug and place somebody else into that system. They knew exactly what the position entailed, and on we went.
And then I think to add on to what we're realizing is the expectation is then set.
Yeah.
And then if something ever goes wrong, we can go back to the system and be like, well, this was the system.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important part is like, listen, the system was, explained. We can always change it, but this is what it is right now. We have to kind of follow this rule and go by that. So, some of these things we're talking about for a lot of viewers might be a little bit high level. You might be alone, you might be at home, and you might be, with your wife or your kids or your mom, your dad. You might have one team member that's coming over, and I think what happened with us and the breakaway is like, you're like, it's like a 5-minute thing. Yeah. What do we need to document that's going to take me 30 minutes to make for this system? It makes no sense, right?
It'll take me 2 hours to document something, that I could tell you in 2 seconds.
Yeah, and one of the biggest arguments not arguments, but discussions that Marc and I always have is, and Marc is so bad at it because Marc knows that he can do it faster, and he will just do it, right? And it's like, Marc, you stop doing that. Like, stop it. You need to give it to the person, spend the 20 minutes, make a system, because otherwise you will never ever be able to delegate it out because you'll never make a system, right? I know you can do it fast now. I know you're the best at it. But until you don't master it and you can't make it a system where somebody else can master it, then this is useless. You'll be stuck doing it, right? But one thing that I learned is when I used to work at U-Haul, I remember when I came on this job as a financial analyst, and I remember they gave me this manual, and this manual must have been like, I don't know, it was like 100 pages long, and they clearly worked on their systems. But guess who didn't read a single page of it? This guy right here. I still don't know what the heck the first page said, because when they gave it to me, I'm like, no way in hell am I reading that. First. Second, no way I'm remembering any of it, because none of it's interesting to me. So one of the first things, I don't remember if this was you or who it was, if you're at home or if you just have your shop, one of the greatest ways to start doing systems, which I absolutely love, which we still need to implement, is if you are doing something, okay, in your head, the first thing you should do is write it down. The second thing you should do is tell yourself, I need to do this in a minute or two on a video. Make a QR code and slap the QR code wherever you're doing it. And the reason why that's incredibly efficient and it's incredibly useful for someone at that level that you might only have 1, 2, 3 employees is one of the big things, for example, that you'll end up delegating in your business is shipping. Right? You're not going to be shipping forever. And imagine having a sticker on the shipping table where you literally have a 1-minute video on what your standards are, what you're doing. And let's say somebody just comes in for 2 hours, like let's say your dad does. You just tell them, hey, just scan that QR code, watch the video, and it'll show you in 1 minute exactly what to do. And if you get confused, guess who can rewind it? You can.
You can pause it, you can start it again.
I totally agree. So I can tell you a little what we use. One, we do use the Google Sheets and the Google Docs to track it all. But when I started writing down my systems, I would be typing it out, word for word, letter by letter, and it would be you'd forget a step in there all the time because it's just in your brain and you do it. You skip steps a lot. It was very time consuming. Then I started using a software called Loom that everybody can get for free on your PC, your Mac, your phone, or wherever. And I would record myself talking out loud, doing things on my computer, like if you're showing something how to do it, or if it's something out in the field, or if it's a printer or it's a laser engraver, you can use the camera on your phone, and it records you and it records what you're doing. And Dan Martell, in his book, Buy Back Your Time, which has a lot of things we're talking about here when it came to time, but he calls it the Camcorder Method. So imagine whatever you're doing, you have the old-fashioned camcorder on a tripod over your shoulder, just recording everything you're doing, and talk out loud, like you're walking through the steps, and just do what you're doing and record everything you do. So I use Loom. I don't use a camcorder, but I use Loom to do it. And the new Loom with AI has... it takes your transcripts and builds the SOP for you, step by step with the checklist.
Really?
So now you just copy and paste that and put that into a Google Doc. You put that link to the Google Doc in your Google Sheet, and next to that, in the other column, you put the link to the video.
Nice.
So the Loom records it and everything, and then it automatically creates a URL. So you don't have to go, oh, where do I put this video? It's stored in your Loom library. You popped it right in there. And now your team can see this playbook. Oh, this is the file I need. Oh, this, whatever it might be. And it's all in one place, super simple. Loom is free. I have contractors that are out in the field now. Instead of holding a camera on their Loom, they're using like the meta glasses, and they're recording themselves with glasses on, and then they upload that to Loom. And then they're using, if you've ever been to a construction site now, they're using the UPC codes,
QR
the
codes.
QR codes. I'm sorry, for everything. Like the electrician goes to that, the blue QR codes, and this is the schematics for that, because they always lose all the blueprints.
Yeah.
So now they're all on these QR codes throughout the build, right? So that's how they.
You know, the only thing I got out of that, I have one question. What is a camcorder? No, I'm just kidding.
What's a camcorder?
I think that's dead on. And I like you just talked about that. And I think in our industry, a very good way to apply that is if you are in your shop and you're designing, you know, this would be a great way to create a SOP for how you design, how you take in orders. What do you do? Like, you know, if you're using Adobe Illustrator, how you're designing it, where you're doing it. If you're doing sublimation, okay, you're going into Canva, you're doing this, you're resizing. Like, you're basically saying have that sort of your camcorder or your camera record that, and you can create those SOPs. It'll make the videos for you, and that makes it so much easier to delegate it. Where your 9-year-old can come in and be like, all right, just watch this video instead of YouTube.
Right.
Boom, start designing for me, and you can move that much faster.
Right. One of the important things is the systems is so you can train other people to do it, but it's also maybe you don't have any inclination to growing a team, and you're just doing it yourself. That's the plan, you know, for a lot of hobbyists and for makers. That's fine, you know, right? That's what they want to do. But there's some things that you do, but you don't do it every day, and you forget.
True.
So you guys have been to Growth Club many a times. Growth Club is an event I put on, a whole day workshop for my clients, and it's once a quarter. It's just far enough apart that Coach Tom forgets, what do I got to do next to put this event on?
Yeah.
Right? So I've literally make a checklist. I still use the same checklist. Okay, I got to do this, this, this. Oh, I can delegate this part of it out to this person. This, and I just go through that checklist. I have a checklist for packing the car for a Growth Club to make sure everything gets there. Right. So, because it's I don't do it every day. I don't do it every week. I don't do it every month. It's just far enough for my brain that like I'll start forgetting. Like for you guys, that might be trade shows.
Exactly what I was
right.
thinking,
Like you know, like
I'll tell you, we didn't have a system before our trade show, and the full credit for our trade show success goes to Sam. Because she came in and she made the checklist, she made the Excel sheets, like everything is systemized, everything is itemized, you know, and now everybody relies on those checklists. Like Deshaun on our team, we live by that checklist. So if that checklist somehow got deleted and Sam was like, screw you guys, we'd be so screwed.
A few weeks ago, I'm like, Sam, where's the APA checklist for the trade show? I'm like, I need it. Like, I forgot what to do.
So Sam might not know this, but he asked her like 3-4 times on where the checklist is. It was not to make sure that like she got the job done. It was because he was freaking out, because he's like I don't know where I'm at without this checklist, right? He's like, I don't know what's going on.
I gotta book the rooms. I gotta book the flights.
Yeah,
I forgot about all that stuff.
And it's not like we can't do it. Like, we could get it done, but it's like you create that system, and then you're so reliant on it too.
Yeah.
The consistency is very important. That okay, like, do you have your system set up for that? So I think systems, it's and they break sometimes, you know. But I think for us, like, you know, if things don't go as planned, we definitely. The one big thing is, like, for example, if we keep going on conferences and trade shows, we know that this system belongs to Sam, right? So if something does break or something happens, we know, okay, the first line of defense, okay, go back to Sam. If it's not Sam, then we're going to go back to Deshaun. If it's not Deshaun, then and our systems flow downward to where we know who's the best at that system, who's next, and, you know, who's been trained on it, who's learning on it, and cross-training is a big part of our systems as well, which is a whole category of its own.
That's right. Yeah, you have systems for everything. In each part of your business, you have financial systems, marketing systems, delivery systems, shipping systems, onboarding new hires, you know, like your HR system. What does that look like? Everything, right?
Yeah. Now I feel like we need someone who is good at making systems to manage our systems. So we're getting in this, at MakerFlo, it's getting to a place where, okay, like, for example, we've had to, you know, forcefully build a handbook now, because we don't have 100 people at MakerFlo. Believe it or not, we operate with less than like 15. But you know, the thing is that there's so many moving parts that it's come to a point where, like, okay, now we need a handbook to systemize everything, because there's so many things, you know, vacation time, there's, you know, health issues, there's family issues, there's so many things. And, you ask one person and you ask the next person, and it's like 3 different answers, right? I think this morning, again, a little Sam example. Sam was asking how our combs are packaged. She got 3 answers, 3 different answers. And she was like, everyone gave me a different answer, right? And now it's like, okay, well, we got to go backwards. Okay, who's responsible for this? Why don't we know this? Where do we fall short? And so systems break. And the whole idea is like having a system for your systems, who belongs to what. And it's this whole thing about going like in circles, but
somebody's got to take ownership of the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's ever improving.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think when it comes to systems, it's super important to, I think my big learning was first having them, but making it consumable. And in our case, guys, just so I don't know, whatever camera we're on, if you look, I'm taking 0 notes. Marc takes notes. So I don't know if you could see that.
This has always bothered me,
yeah,
by the way.
I know. It's not.
I love that Marc takes notes, but John never takes notes.
But
I like to systemize. I like to systemize.
But the thing is, that, well, I know you guys think you guys one up on me, but ask him where his other sheets are that he took notes on. All right. So that's so the thing is that there's always a process. There might be systems, but like you're saying, we should definitely be making sure, like, I mean, we do have a lot of AI that we use for videos and stuff, and we can always pull from this and get the main points, rewind and do that. And what I've learned is systems for MakerFlo, we need to video them more than now put them on words on paper.
Yeah.
People are not used to reading. People have gotten into swiping. People have gotten into their phones, and they want to do everything on their phones. So, MakerFlo, like in 2026, a big thing for Marc and I is to systemize everything, where not even to the point where we're making 30-minute videos. Yeah. We've even gotten to like, you need to be at least 1 minute, because no one is going to sit there. They're going to lose track in literally over a minute. They're going to stop watching it, right? Yeah. So again, systems change. Where there were manuals that were even what's the plastic material called that you like to you use manuals and you put laminated manuals was a huge thing, right? Yeah. Try to find a laminated manual today, right? So things change, systems change, and you have to adapt, and that's something we're always working on. So.
I remember when we started working on systems with Coach Tom, it was about the bottlenecks kind of in the business. And what comes to mind was Charles was working in our production, and he kept coming to us with like the same questions, the same issues, just different iterations of them. And we ended up being the crutch for Charles because we would just give him the answer real quick, right? Well, one advice to that is to ask your team member for the answer before you give it to them, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But the second answer to that is have them relate to a system that you've created. So we started creating systems for Charles on how we engrave certain products, what the expectations are, what quality to look at, how to set up the laser and focus it. We created these systems and documented it. That way he had to stop coming to us, asking us, oh, is this a problem? Or do you approve this? Like, check the system, check the quality, issues that we might have with this. And we stopped becoming the crutch for him, which relieves so much of our time. And he was able to just work on other things. He had confidence in his decisions because he was relying on that system. And then we got to work on other things and build the business. Yeah. And that was a huge system that we put in place. So don't become the crutch for your team members. Let the systems become the crutch that allows you to propel your business forward.
I think that's it right there. That's the biggest thing. I think the moment you start feeling like I'm doing everything and nothing is moving forward, it means you're the problem. And that's the time to start looking at delegating and getting more things. And if you can't get that, then the problem is you're not charging enough, because then you can't scale your business. So if you go back, you go to mastery, and then you go to money mastery, and it all goes back to the same thing, right?
That's right.
And you have to keep going backwards and reevaluating the steps. So, but talking about that, let's get into the next subject.
I'm telling you, this is like crazy how this step on step goes forward. I just brought up Charles, and Charles was one of our first team members. And step 4 of the 6 steps is team.
Building a team.
And so we got mastery, marketing, systems, and then team. So a lot of people ask us, Tom, is like, how do you know when to hire somebody? When do you know to take that step, and when can you afford it? And when do you know to hire your first team member in your business?
Right. That's a great question. Get that a lot. It doesn't matter if they're a contractor or a law firm. They all go through the same question. So we talked about systems give you leverage in your business. Obviously, hiring another team member gives you true leverage in your business, the leverage of people. And if you're doing all the work yourself and you're ready to hire that new person, one of the problems we see is like, oh, I have enough business for me. full-time, but I don't have enough business to hire a full-time person yet, right? So how do I go from that? That means I would be paying them money, and I would be taking away from me and my family, because now I'm paying them. I see this all the time, especially like with plumbers. Like they're busy, they're working 60, 70 hours a week, but they don't have enough to go pay another guy 40 hours a week, right? So you don't always have to hire full-time, by the way, all the time. And you're not paying for somebody for the whole year in advance. You pay somebody a couple weeks, 2 weeks at a time. So when you do have the systems in place, you got to do the systems first, so that that person can get up to speed quicker. And when they're up to speed quicker, they'll be making you money. And then you can be working on what is your genius. Now, a lot of times your genius might have been being on the tools, doing the plumbing, or in this case, making things. Like you're really good at making things. But now you need to now you can spend your time developing the systems for your team to run, or go out. In this case, you would want to free up your time to go out and do more sales. So there's always like this teeter-totter effect of like, okay, I need to do more marketing and sales so I can go get another guy or gal. And then it's like, okay, a little bit more. And the next thing you know, you got two dozen people working for you. So it's little by little. But we got to make sure, when the number one thing that bites people in the butt, if I can say that, is that they go out and they hire, and they have this new free time. If they did it right, they should have some freed up time, but they don't use that freed up time efficiently or in productivity to create more revenue, right? So they just work less, which is fine if they want to just work less. But if they need money, to have this new person, then they need to focus their time to switch on generating revenue, which is making sales. Yeah. So, or maybe it's, hey, I need to focus on working with hiring a salesperson first. If you go hire a salesperson, they're bringing you all this business, you will hire another operator, somebody to help you, right? So it's kind of a back and forth. Maybe it's one salesperson for two people helping you in the factory, or whatever it might be, right? So you want to hire the right person is super important, because most business owners don't like firing people. They don't.
You see, you didn't. Okay, Tom, call us out.
They don't like firing people, and nobody likes. Well, I do know some people that do like firing people, but most people don't like firing people. So you got to learn to hire slow. Be really methodical, and make sure you get the right person. Don't just get somebody that can fog a mirror, right? So, but you gotta learn to fire fast. Yeah. Right. So if that person's no longer a good fit, you've tried coaching them up, they're not following the systems, or they're breaking the rules, or if they're culturally not a good fit for your team, they're like the rotten apple, and you could lose some A players on your team if they got to keep working with a D player every day. Right. So that's number one. You don't want to lose an A player because you're hanging on too long to a D player.
Amen.
So the people will leave because they don't like who they're working with, so you're going to lose some good people. But number one, when you're hiring, think about, what does your ideal candidate look like? So what I like to do is take a piece of paper and draw a line down the center, top to bottom. And on the left, write all the things I want in that person, and on the right, the things I don't want. Now, I like to stay in the positive and write the things I want, the attributes, the skills, the values that person would have. They're on time, they're professional, they live above the point of power. They don't blame others, they don't make excuses, they take ownership, they're accountable and responsible for themselves, right? So we make the positive things. If we can't think of all the positive things that we want in a person, maybe we've had a bad hire in the past and we know what we don't want. So we go right down on the negative side, what we don't want. We write down whatever that thing is we don't want, and then ask ourselves, okay, what's the opposite of that? Oh, we don't want somebody that's late to work all the time and makes excuses. Oh, what's the positive? We want somebody that's always on time and punctual and takes ownership for themselves, right? So we write that down. And so when you have this list of what your ideal candidate looks like, you're programming your brain to look out for it. Otherwise, you're just going to get what you get, right? So if you really program your brain what you want, it'll come to fruition, and you'll get that. So make the list of what you want, or else you're just going to get what you get.
Yeah. That's true.
So
put it on paper.
yeah.
You know, when we first were hiring, it was a lot of fear in like your first hire, and really letting go of control. But what really stuck with me is when you gave me that that BFO of, I was spending over 3 hours a day shipping the products, and you said, Mark, if you're spending 3 hours a day, how much is your time worth? What's the value of your time?
Right.
And what could you pay somebody to ship for you instead?
Right.
And I was like, like $20 an hour, I could pay somebody to ship.
Yeah.
Okay, $60 for the 3 hours I was spending when my time was worth much more than that, because I knew I could go out there and build the business. So instead of working in the business, you helped us really transition to work on the business, and that was pivotal.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So when you do the time analysis in the beginning, going back to mastery, you look at all the things that you're doing. And if you find yourself doing employee type work, then you're only going to make employee type pay in those hours. So like a good example is shipping. Like if you find yourself shipping and you can pay somebody $20 an hour, you are actually costing your company money. So you guys, the value of your time is very valuable. You could be out negotiating bigger deals with strategic partners, corporate things, or looking for new products from your manufacturers that have a much higher value than, say, $20 an hour, right? So, I can mow my own grass. I don't have a lawnmower, but I could mow my own grass, and I might like it. I might be okay at it, but it would probably take me a couple hours if I did have a lawnmower. I got to get it out, mow the grass, clean up, bag it up, get it in the trash cans, hope there's gas in it next time, maybe it starts. But I can pay my guy David, $50, and boom, he's got all the equipment, it's done, it's clean, it's gone. And I can spend that time, that hour, with my family, with my clients, making sales, playing golf, doing things that I like better and or in productive time, like with my clients. So if you're doing those lower value jobs, it's a per hour job. So like we talked about destination mastery, where do you want to go? What are your goals? Usually that's how much money you want to make too, because it's usually in there. Yeah. So then, okay, divide that by how many hours you want to work. So okay, divide that by 2,040 hours if that's a normal work week for the year. Okay, I value my time at $100 an hour, or 150 or 500, or some CEOs 1,000. Why am I doing a job that's $20 an hour, right? So, but the key is when you go and hire that person, you got to make sure you're using that newfound time to make the company money, right? So Dan Martell likes to use that same kind of analogy in the book, Buy Back Your Time, but he likes to use a ratio of 4 to 1. So if it's something he can pay, if it's 1/4 of what he's worth, he'll pay it. So like for instance, if he values his time at $500 an hour, he'll pay somebody $125 an hour to do that, right? So that might be programming or coding or something, or something that's like that. So
I think the bigger thing on this one, I think a lot of folks will be questioning is, what is my value?
Yeah. So what do you want it to be? So
I don't know. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
These are great concepts, but like let's say if I'm a maker at home, break it down for me. Let's say if I'm making $250,000 a year in revenue.
Right.
How do I figure out my value?
Right. So 2 things. Number one, know where you're at. What's your value right now? What do you like? So take how much money you brought in last year in profit, and then divide that by how many hours you worked. Right.
So let's say if you're making $250,000 and you made 20% profit, which means that you took home, not revenue, you took home 50,000. Yeah. Now in a year, I believe there's 2,060 hours. So let's just to make the math simple, let's call it 2,000.
Yeah, you took some vacations in there.
Okay, so sure. So let's say you made 50,000 and there's 2,000 working hours. If you divide the two, that would put you at
$25.
$25 an hour. Okay.
That's right. So you value your time at $25 an hour. So if that's a job, you might need to go and do that yourself. Like that's what right now. Now when you set your new goals, and I want to make, the company is going to do $500,000 next year, and I want to pay myself $100,000 in profit, then I value my time at $50 an hour. So I should be doing, things that I can pay somebody 12 or 13, 15, $20 an hour to do, because the value might be going out and making a sale that brings a lot more money in. I had a client that's an attorney, and he valued his time back in the day. I think it was like $300 an hour. Now today he charges like $550 an hour. But back then, when he was billing his clients at $300 an hour, he thought that was great, and it was good. But we built his law firm, and they had 10 to 20 people at the time. And I said to him, we were talking about marketing. He wanted more customers to come in, more clients, and so we did a strategic partnership. So he was going out and meeting with other attorneys that don't do the same kind of law that he did. And I said, okay, if you go out and meet with 10 attorneys and have 10 luncheons with that would cost you 10 hours over the course of, like, say, 2-3 weeks. How much money would you lose? He goes, well, I would lose $300. I wouldn't be able to bill at $300. That would cost me like $3,000. I would lose. I said, okay, great. If you went with 10 lunches with 10 other attorneys that could refer you business, how many referrals do you think you'll get? He goes, oh, like 4 or 5 in 10 lunches. I said, okay, let's be super conservative. Let's say it's 1.
Yeah.
Right? I said, what's your average client worth to the firm? And back then it was $10,000. I said, oh, so 10 lunches should net you easily $10,000. Yeah.
You gave up the $3,000.
Yeah, you give up the $3,000 of billing.
So you're netting $7,000.
Yeah. So every time you pick up your briefcase or get out your laptop and you're doing client work, you're costing your firm money.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It's a whole different way of looking
at
it. It's like you're actually the bottleneck, is essentially what you're saying. You're doing yourself a disservice because you don't realize it, because you don't see it, but you're losing money by not going out there and doing this.
That's right. It's
a big one. I think it's a good one to understand, and once you get that realization, I mean, like you and I have that realization. I'm always on the thing of how do I delegate? How do we build teams, systematic teams that we don't have to think? And every time, I'm here doing the same thing every single week over and over again for hours on end. I'm like, why are we doing this? We need to keep moving MakerFlo forward. I need to work on innovative product lines. I need to work on, the USPs, like, making sure that, our products have 15 USPs and I can only market 5 of them, but the product is so beautiful and so great that when people get it, they see the other 10, like that's what we need to be thinking about.
Right.
But when your mind and your space has been consumed by these other 45 things going on, I can never work on that, right?
Right.
And so I think the power of that is massive once you truly understand it and believe in it. Because if you don't believe in it, you're not going to do any of it. So, but yeah, absolutely. So, teams.
Yeah, teams and how to value your time.
Value your time.
That was the biggest one with working with Action Coach and Coach Tom.
Well, I would say when it comes to team, one of the most important things as well is culture. Mm-hmm. So, and this is where you guys have really stood apart from everybody else that I've worked with over the years. Is the culture you have built at working at MakerFlo is top notch. The things that you guys do for your teams, the culture that you've built. Now, the job of the owners is to come up with the rules of the game, and the culture you have to start it, but it can start getting built by the team itself.
Yeah.
Now, if it gets a little out of control, you got to wean it back in. So tell me some of the things that you guys have done to build the culture within your team.
I mean, our team is our blood of our business, like our team provides to our customers, and that's also a lifeline of our business. So we got to take care of the team so they can take care of the customers and they can come back around. It's a full circle of life there, so culture is huge for us on our team, and we've got to treat them like family.
That's right.
We actually have to care. It's about being a leader, right? And treating them how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
We both worked in corporate and we understand.
Treat them how they want to be treated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not how you want to be treated.
Yeah,
Perspective,
the
right? We
platinum
talked about
rule.
this
The
earlier.
platinum rule. Treat them how they want to be treated.
Exactly.
They might be okay with being treated differently than what you want, but
Yeah, everyone's different, right? We do the DISC assessment with our team, and that was huge eye opening for everybody
Yeah.
to understand what is their DISC and how do you communicate with somebody that's different than your DISC, you know, and that's an awesome way to communicate better and to build your team.
Yeah, I mean, Mark and I think we made our what do we not care about list for our culture. We work corporate, so we're like, this is what we don't want. We don't want none of our team members should ever have to pay for a lick of water. You know, like that's my minimum requirement coming from corporate. I have to pay for water, right? And we went as far as to going like, okay, not only you have to pay for water, you don't have to pay for snacks, you have to pay for lunches, right? And that was like a big thing for us.
Yeah.
The second thing was like having HR departments. Oh my God, I hated HR departments. It was almost like you go down to somebody to complain and they don't care. They're just like, you know what? Here's a form, sign this. Okay, you guys are good. Like it was just a Band-Aid, right? And this is why we implemented Dr. K. And Dr. K comes in and, you know, he tries to go deeper than the problem. He goes below the problem to see why does it keep happening. So we went, Mark and I were like, we had a long list of what we didn't want.
Right.
And from that, we came up with, okay, this is how it's going to be. And like you said, you know, you start out with that and we started as a small garage company. We had some of these systems and we had some of these when we were at Marc's house. Free lunches were when we were at Marc's house. So just anybody watching out there, just understand that if you're working at a company, it's their choice not to give you perks. It's not because they can't afford it, because we've been doing this from day one, from when we were at home, when there were only 3 of us. So this is not something like, you know, that we were so highly profitable. It's a decision we made that we wanted to do until this day. Even during COVID, when things were rough, we might have tightened the budget, but lunches were still free here. So it's just a decision you made, and we have made a decision to do that, and that was part of our culture. So yeah, we and there's a lot more cultures like implementing healthcare. We don't have to do it. It's so expensive. Oh my gosh. But we want to make sure everyone has healthcare, and it's helped a lot of people. So, but it's to your testament, like you'll make these systems. You'll do these things to build your team and have a solid team. And we started out, you know, as a small business, we built them like that. But as our business matures, as our team is doing more, they're demanding more. We need more out of the team. We need, you know, a better quality of team. You know, that culture might have to change a little bit to accommodate that in both ways, where a team member coming has higher expectations, right? Yeah. We can't be that like home and garage business. So as you grow, even that culture will change ever so slightly in a big way or a small way, but the core of it is still taking care of everybody, right? We still want to make sure if we change our culture, our team is taken care of, our customers taken care of, our team members' family feels like they're taken care of and we're being fair to them. You know, even that's a thing. Our vendors are taken care of. We even think of that far because, I mean, that's a big part of our circle. If our vendors are pissed at us and we can't get product or we can't get services done for ourselves, how do I serve my team and the customer? So there's a lot of thinking behind this, and culture, as you can see. Thanks for asking that question. I get fired up about it. Yeah. But it's a big part of what we do, our big why. And, you know, it's something that again, Marc and I thought of this when there were only 3 of us. So if you're sitting there behind a screen saying this is not important, it is important because it will drive you, your business, and the future of your business in ways that you couldn't imagine.